All right, good evening, everybody. Those in Liberia, we say good evening to you. Those in the US, we say good afternoon. And if you're on the East Coast, of course, it's what, 3 p.m. your time. Welcome to Liberia Shall Rise. And this is the program on this segment what we call Mental Health Sunday. So today I'm here with my own good friend and sister, Dr. Quita Roberts. She needs no introduction. How are you doing today, Doc?
I'm well. How are you?
Man, it's been a minute. It's been a while since we were here together.
I know the summer have us traveling everywhere, and life is busy, but I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you back. So I'll tell you what, today let's talk about your trip a little bit. I'm not going to take the show away. You don't have to give me too much, but let's just talk a little bit about your trip, how it
Okay.
was.
Right.
Maybe we'll find time to really talk about the good, the bad, and ugly. But let's
Mhm.
just talk about how things were. How was your trip back home, the flight, and everything else?
Oh man, Liberia. I mean, as right now, I'm used to the flights is long, but I'm used to the long haul. It wasn't too bad, actually. It wasn't too bad, and we got there. Surprisingly, this time of the year is not as hot, so I
Oh
was
man,
really grateful. Yeah, it started raining when we got there, but it wasn't too bad. But compared to like March, April, for a few times I've been there, it was extremely hot. So that I was really, really grateful for. Yeah.
nice, nice. All
Mhm.
right, so I hope you ready. Get yourself caught up on some Liberian food because man, to get it here, sometimes we don't get the original, right? So hopefully you got the original while you are back home.
Enjoy the organic food. We enjoy the organic rice. I miss all of the fresh fruits when I went there. Of course, mango was still in season.
Oh, you got lucky because we almost finished it while I was there.
I know. I enjoyed it. You were there too. How was your trip?
It was good. It was good trip. I came back in May, so at least might been
Yeah.
a minute. So I came back in May, and when I was coming, I think you were getting ready to leave. So
Yes, yes,
yeah, so
yes.
it's been a while, but hey, home is home. When we get back home, we enjoy
Yeah.
the dynamic, we enjoy the fellowship, we enjoy
Hmm.
hanging out with friends and family. So I never regret going back home. So it's always been a beautiful thing to go.
Yes, indeed.
Um, but let's talk about today's show, though. Today we are going to be talking about workplace bullying. I think the last time we were together, we talked about, if I remember correctly, though, either it was marriage. We talked about marriage, and we talking about touch a little bit of those. But today we're going
Okay.
to be talking about workplace bullying. We talk about bullying, but most of the time we really don't touch this whole workplace bullying. We don't talk about how much it impact the person who is being bullied and
Hmm.
the person who's doing the bullying, right?
Right.
And so the psychological and the physical impact it causes individual. We are definitely going to jump into that today and discuss it. So introduce the segment. Let's talk about this workplace bullying, and then I will come up with some questions, and we'll go from there like we usually do.
So let me start off by saying that every organization is responsible and has the responsibility to create a work culture where there is dignity, respect for their employees. And the main goal, really, for that organization is to remove bullying and harassment. And every single person has the right to be comfortable at work. And we're going to talk about this a little bit in the dynamics of Liberia, especially because every time I go, I observe things. Like um, so workplace bullying, is it an issue? Absolutely, it's an issue. It's an issue in Liberia. I would say big time. It's an issue here in America. It's an issue in the White House. Okay, it's an issue in the White House. So bullying usually is what we would see as an act of verbal comments that could psychologically or mentally hurt somebody. I think you kind of stated that, or even isolate them in the workplace. So, microaggression, comments such as, oh, African do such a thing, or, African food smells thing, and oh, I'm just joking and laugh about it. So it started off as simple stuff, right? And then
Mm.
it morphed into something huge, and it can involve negative comments and sometimes even physical aggression. So I will stop there, and we can dive into it a little deeper.
So I'm glad that you just went straight for Liberia. You went for the aggression. But before we really get into the meat of it, I want us to really make this distinguishing factor between whether it is a workplace bullying or workplace harassment. So
Right.
because it's very easy for the two to just
That's
get
right.
intertwined, right?
Mhm.
So let's try to distinguish, because today I want us to just focus on the bullying aspect. And so is this considered bullying or is this considered harassment? So what are the distinguishing factor between these two?
So, okay, bullying and harassment are very similar. All right. We
Hmm.
can say somebody is bullying me, and of course, that's it's just a bully, it's okay. But one thing that is very distinct is that harassment is illegal. Okay.
Mm.
And there's no way around that. Harassment now, bullying, somebody can probably get away with bullying because up until now, there aren't strong laws that said, well, if somebody bully you, they can lose their job over that. But harassment, there are very strong laws around that. So bullying is not harassment. Harassment is when unwanted behaviors that targets you.
Hmm.
Okay. So it is not just, that, okay, somebody, I say, stop, don't touch me. You touching me. I
Hmm.
ask you to stop touching me. You continue to touch me. Well, you follow me everywhere I go. You walk to the lunchroom. Like I had this when I worked at the bank in New York. I had just graduated high school and I got a job at the bank. So, I was about 18 years old. And of course, I worked there, and I think the manager there was from Ethiopia, and we kind of clicked. So my supervisor was a middle-aged woman, and she had this narrative in her mind. She had the story that this guy liked me. Maybe he did. I didn't care about it. I just wanted to go and work. But she started harassing me. She felt like the guy was very lenient with me. It got so bad when I go to the bathroom, she will follow me in the bathroom. She will be standing in the stall,
Wow.
timing how long I was in the bathroom. Okay. So initially, I just thought, okay, it's just randomly she comes when I come. I didn't think anything about it.
Mm.
So, and then I saw that every time I come, this time she was getting a little bit more aggressive. Quita, you've been here for 5 minutes. You need to leave. And I'm like, excuse me, I can't take bathroom breaks now. So I will go back on the floor. She will be like walking, pacing up and down, pacing. So I really didn't care for her because I kind of felt like, okay, you have some issues. Like you're insecure right now, and that's not my problem. So
Yeah.
I didn't really give her any attention. And that fueled her anger towards me and her rage. It kind of built into rage. When I walk in at work, she would tell me, sit over there, not my desk. Sit over there today. And I said, that's not my station. That's why I want you. Don't argue with me. I will write you up. Okay, no problem. I will go. And I didn't argue with her. I would go and I would do my work and I would still be finished early. And she built it. She built it. And then it got as far as when I received phone calls. While I'm on the phone, she would pick up the phone and she would tell me it's time to end the conversation. Get back to work. Now, at this point in time, I told the manager, and he said, why haven't you said anything? This is harassment. I said, harassment. I didn't know there was a thing, right? I said,
Yeah.
I just felt like she was miserable, but I've told her to stop multiple times.
Yeah.
And, she harassed me to the point where I was so uncomfortable. So, harassment, now it wasn't now just bullying, saying things to me, to kind of offend me. She was actually doing illegal things to me, following me in the bathroom and timing me. hanging up my phone calls. She will follow me when I leave work all the way downstairs to the elevator to watch me to see where I was going, who I was going with. She was obsessed, and it was horrible and it was illegal. So, we can say that bullying affects multiple people, but when it comes to those behaviors that is illegal, that's where we join that line with harassment. And I can go further into it, but I think I wanted to give my example for what that will be.
Well, I mean, it sounds to me like that was actually an extreme example, which I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, definitely that makes it super extreme. But I want to go now that we can kind of look at the distinguishing factor between bullying. We talk about the persistent mistreatment, the isolation, and one way too that this workplace bullying sometimes show its face. It can be just in the form of let's say you have two or three people in the same office space, right? You guys sharing the same office space. But I can understand and talk to you, Quita, and the other person is sitting right there. I can't even include them in our conversation. Or we laughing, we saying stuff, the other person come in, we just keep quiet.
Yeah,
And those kind of things that makes someone else uncomfortable, that put them in a position where they dread coming to work. They don't
exactly.
want to be there. Those kind of little factors can also turn into this idea of bullying. But then let's go now though. Let's go to, because I don't want to lose track of Liberia. You also touch that this is also something you find in Liberia. Of course, I get your point. It's all over the world. You find it. Now, some parts of the world people address it, and other parts of the world it is not really addressed. Now, when we get to Liberia though, are we looking at it in the form of bullying, or is it mostly harassment that we see in the workplace? Your
I
boss
can
has
say
said things
both.
like, yeah.
I can say both because I think they're both intertwined somewhat, right? Um, I feel this is a Quita statement. Majority of the time, bullying manifests into harassment. So if you do not kind of like pay heed to it and you do not again address it right away, it can morph into harassment. So what do we look like when it comes to people that bully? You have that constant criticism. Your work is consistently every little thing you do, the nitpick on it, and you are undervalued. No matter how well you perform, there's always nitpicking in what you do. You can never perform enough, right? Because that person has a problem with you. They undermine your work. Your colleagues, your manager, they take credit for your ideas, deliberately sabotaging your efforts. You can do a complete project, you put so much time into it, and then it comes off as, oh, yeah, we did this project and we were up all night. Oh, forget Sharif, who spent the bulk of the time on this project. Oh, that's what's expected of him, right? And then micromanagement. This is what we see in our Liberian organizations a lot. We see this in our Liberian communities, and part of this could be the fact that we don't have ample training when it comes to leadership. A lot of the organizations that we find ourselves in, people who probably started the organization or are the founders, the CEOs, whatever they want to call themselves. The issue here is that they're constantly watching every move. They are questioning everything that you do. They are so in so much control that is toxic and far more control than necessary, right? You find this in the workplace. So if you hire me to do a job, let me do my job. Why are you watching everything, constantly questioning every decisions that I make? It is not necessary. And then another one I want to talk about is the spreading of romance, right? We lie, we spread gossip, and we think it's just, oh, yeah, whatever. It's not a big deal. False stories behind people back, discussions in the workplace that is not necessary. You're talking about somebody. I told you I had issues with my marriage. It didn't stay with you. You pick up the phone and you call Dr. Positive, and you told him, oh, did you hear this and this? And you heard that. Oh, I heard Quita is been abused by her, her husband. And I heard they're having such a horrible marriage. And now it becomes the talk for the water fountain. And when I come around and you see me, everybody looks at me like, like we say, I got poo-poo on my skin, right? Why? Because I told my new friend something and he
Yeah.
didn't keep it.
Yeah. No, but I think one of the things I see, Dr. Roberts, now that you speak of this, I can always go back and just look at some examples. One of the things that I believe is really prevalent in Liberia now, maybe when I was growing up as a kid, we didn't have this much, or times have changed. Or maybe they had it, but I was too poor to notice. I didn't notice that a lot of people had house help. They had people
Yeah,
that were helping them in the home, or washing their clothes, or cooking for them. Not everybody, it just seems like in Liberia now, everybody got people living with them. They got house help.
yes,
Got people opening gates for them, car coming, people opening gates and all of that. It
it's
just
too
seems like
much.
they all over Liberia now. You can
Mhm.
find someone who just got a little nursing job. They're not making much, but they got somebody working for them. Maybe
Yeah.
it goes back to the economy, which is another story for another time. But
Mhm.
one of the things I saw, I visited a friend. I'm not going to say this friend's name. And we were there, and the house help was there. This guy was the gatekeeper. Our
Mhm.
car pulled up, and he opened the door. But the way this lady was talking to this guy, and I promise you, this is true story. The guy told me, the guy said, big brother, because I came and I sat with him during the party. We're having a little get together. And I came and sat with him at the gate. And I said, how long you been working here? Me, I like people. I like to talk to people.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we were just chit chatting and say, yeah, my mom passed away. I started working for these people. I live in this community. And we're just chit chatting. So I said, but why you not eating? Go get some food. There's a lot of food over there. And say, oh, big brother, I can't go. My boss will get really, really mad if I go up there to take food. So I went and grabbed food and I brought it and sat with him and we started eating. But basically though, when you talk about that workplace bullying, that person, even though he's your gatekeeper or that person is your house help, that person too could be a husband, could be a
That's
wife,
right.
could be a son and a daughter. That person
Mhm.
still deserves to be treated with dignity. Is that what you think of it?
Exactly. That is exactly, and that puts me right to where I wanted to land, which is the verbal abuse and derogatory comments. That is something that because somebody worked for you as a houseboy or messenger boy
Yeah.
or girl, does not mean you have right to be yelling at them, cursing them, derogatory comment remarks, personal insults that are directly towards them. Why? Because they work for you and you feel that they are beneath you. This is the problem. It is a huge problem. One of the things we see too is the silent treatment.
Hmm.
We ignore people that we are trying to maybe bully, harass, or whatever. We give them the cold shoulder. I don't care that person not in my what we say caliber adult. We don't say that, but we're not in the same crowd or whatever they say. like we're not.
Sometimes they can say you're not in my league.
Yeah, you're not in my lane. Yes, stay in your own lane, right? So it means that how dare you come sit down and eat with me?
Yeah.
And you are absolutely right. When we got there, we had a few people helping us to open the gate, and there was surprise that me and my husband we will get down from the car. We will open the gate. I was driving, and they would tell me, "Oh, since Kuda, you can drive." Why not? I said, "I can drive." Since Kuda, you can cook. Yes, I was cooking my own meals. I was washing my clothes. I was cleaning my house, and I said to them, "I do this in the States." So if I'm doing this in the States, why do you think I can do it here? If you want to do it, no problem. I don't mind you doing it, but I want you to know that you're not compelled to do it. And so these are some of the things that we see. But another thing, though, in the workplace, and this is like as far as office, when your supervisors, your managers, your bosses set you up for failure, you are giving unclear and unrealistic instructions and tasks. because they know that that is done purposely to make sure that you will fail. They
Hmm.
give you manipulating reviews, unfair critical feedbacks. They focus on minor issues and they downplay your efforts. Many of us are sitting in jobs right now where it doesn't matter how much you do, you're not going to get that promotion. And that because that boss probably don't like you because you're African, or because you are black, or because there's something about you they don't like. They see your efforts, or maybe they have somebody else in mind to get that promotion.
Yeah.
Maybe,
So
yeah,
yeah, Dr. Robert, let me not just kind of gloss over this. Let me not miss it here. When you speak about your bosses setting you up for failure by giving you unrealistic task to complete, I
mhm,
want to I want to take it even further, because as we tell these stories, right? I don't want us to lose sight of Liberia, because that is the context in which we speak in most cases. We in as much as we speak to people here in the US, but our context is always going back to Liberia. That is the place that we eventually want to change. Our message has to go. But let's talk about this instance where I hate to keep making example, because you guys gonna think I know too many big people in Liberia.
you
But look,
do.
I visited one of my friends at the Ministry of Health.
Uh-huh.
He works there. I'm not going to give his position, but I went to visit him. He's one of the higher ups over there. And when I got there, basically he just asked me, "Oh, Mama Sharif, you want something to drink?" And the next thing you know, he's calling the administrative assistant. I'm not saying the person who is the office girl or office boy, administrative assistant, because her desk, I saw the sign administrative assistant, calling that person to go get me something to drink, to go buy me something to food. So the person had to literally come to me, like, "What would you want to eat? They got food down here, they got food this way." And I told him, I said, "No, no, I feel so uncomfortable with the situation." I told him, I said, "No, no, no, I'm okay. I mean, I just came from out. I ate before coming," which was untrue. But I did it because I wanted to save this young lady that embarrassment. She is not. So when someone, let's say you're in the office and your manager is asking you, "Oh, go buy me coffee, go buy me this," when that is not your position, when your position is clearly different from that, do we also consider that to be a form of bullying in the office?
It can be, right? It we can go back to what we talked about as far as undermining the work. Well, that is not in the scope of the work that they do. At some point, uh, assistant to you, I don't know what type of assistant it was, you should have a scope of work that they do. So clearly defining the scope of work. Now, what if this person now feels insulted and now start to say that is not my work, that is not what I was hired to do? Then of course that is where you are setting it up for failure. Because if I tell my boss, that's the work for the messenger boy or whoever it is there, now I will be insubordinate. I
But
will
in
be talking back.
I'm so sorry to interrupt there, but in places like Liberia, where unemployment is so high and job is so scarce, basically though, you are not just looking at being considered insubordinate, but basically you are looking at getting fired, losing your
You will
job.
get fired. So that's just a setup for failure. And Sharif, this is why I'm sorry we have so many ministers, so many government officials that are sleeping with these women in positions because they're afraid they will get fired. I have to sleep with you because if I don't, I will lose my job because there are thousands of people waiting at the door to get that job. And this is the job I need for my kids to eat. So everything that you're telling me to do, whether or not is beyond my scope, I gotta do it. They are threatened, they are isolated, they are criticized, they make them feel this slow. And that's just like you said, not Liberia, it is everywhere. So if my work is being undermined because this is a way to manipulate me, and every time I do something, I've been told, well, this is not even the work that you should be doing. Your other friends then doing such and such, like you can do better, so to speak. Right? You're still learning the work. I've been there 4 5 years. I'm still learning the work. At some point, I have learned enough to be able to at least get some credit for what I do. But all of these ideas are deliberately sabotaged as a manipulative technique that also is a form of bullying. I've
You know, I want to come back to this when you were talking about belittling someone as this form of workplace bullying, which is true. When you're talking about belittling someone, I started to think of vivid examples, right? I mean, could this also fall in the direction of I'm in the office, you are my boss, and we are 4 or 5 in that same office space. Everybody have that desk where we're sharing the space. But if I did something wrong, quote unquote wrong, because I could not even do something wrong, but
Mhm.
you come in and you just start to reprimand me in front of my coworkers, is that a form of this type of bullying that we're talking about?
So let's just make it clear, right? For those that are listening, workplace bullying is usually an act, okay, verbal comments that could be psychological or mentally intended to hurt somebody, okay, to isolate them in the workplace. So sometimes, yes, it can involve negative physical contact as well. Usually, it involves repeatedly incidences where we say there's a pattern of behaviors where it's intended to intimidate, to offend, to degrade, or humiliate a person, particularly around a group of people,
Ah,
right?
yeah.
So it can also, like we said before, can be seen as somebody uh, asserting their power, their girth over
Mhm.
you. I think I mentioned that in the context of Liberia. But the key word is in front of one person or a group of people. So yes, if constantly you are being degraded or humiliated in front of your coworkers outside of the cubicle, if your boss can call you in your office and speak with you one on one, which is the right way to do it. However, they choose to stand right outside of their office where cubicles are surrounded with your other peers and tell you how horrible you perform, or you're coming in late every day and you shouldn't be coming in late every day. This is just wrong. You're going to lose your job if you keep up this behavior. You do know you can get fired, right? You don't want to work here or something? What do you, I mean, really seriously, you don't want to work here, like you don't care, because honestly, you have horrible work ethics. And everybody hearing that, your co-workers are hearing that, and you're embarrassed. You feel humiliated. And maybe you have told them over and over, can you call me in your office if you have something to say to me? But this is a pattern.
Hmm. Okay, so let me bring you back. This is a question that was sent to me by one of our listeners. Actually, Dr. Possibly gave me this question, and he
Mhm.
was putting this in the context of Liberia, right? And what he was trying to express here, I think I got his point. He was telling us, telling me, he said, look, in our culture, if you look at Liberia culturally, we still, I mean, for the most part, when we come over, we cross over, come to the States or go to Europe, I mean, no matter how educated we were in our little place called Liberia, crossing over, it has this intimidating factor. So we
Mhm.
can go like in your example where you were talking about working at a bank and this lady was just, you didn't know what that meant. It's not
I
like you
cannot.
it's
Yep.
not like you were crazy, But these
Mhm.
are not things that are spoken of or talked about in Liberia in our
Exactly.
classrooms. So you could come here now and you just find your bosses yelling at you and telling you doing and just doing all of these things. You will just take that as a normal
Yeah.
way of working. And in that particular case, though, what do we say to our brothers? I mean, with this education be something you need to put in place? I mean, do we say, look, when you come to this country, I mean, we can call all the Liberian Association and say, look, when we have new members that come from Liberia, join our association, we need to educate them on the do's and don'ts and their rights. So that way, when they get to work, they know exactly how that goes about.
I think that's exactly it. We have a lot of organizations within our community. It's about time we start educating people on these things because a lot of us are suffering. And you are absolutely right. Another key factor there, Sharif, is the fact that we are afraid to lose our jobs. We don't know our rights. Had I known, actually, my manager was the one that alerted me to my rights. And he told me it's in the lunchroom. Go and read about it. You have rights. Study it. He said, "At any job you go to," he said,
Wow.
"don't let these people tell you these things, And he said, "Don't ever think." I said, "But I don't want to get fired." He said, "No, you have right." He said, "There is something called policy." And I kid you not, every job I went to after that, I read that policy like the Bible. So in fact, everywhere I went, they call me the policy woman because I knew my rights. But it came from a place where I was bullied to the point where I had to resign a very good job because
Wow.
she was the boss. It was like, okay, is she going to stay here? I resigned. I reported her and I resigned. A lot of us don't even know the EEOC. You have, well, I guess it's gone now according to Trump. So that's another point.
Yeah,
So,
I know the point you're going to make, but forget it. Don't keep going.
so I just got to keep going. But I would say this: every place of work have a grievance committee. Okay, now know the law, know what your rights are, and you can clearly, firmly say that. You talk about the do's and don'ts. So, what do you do if you feel that you are being bullied, harassed, discriminated? I gave you lots of signs and symptoms. Well, lots of signs, what you need to know, right? And you should never ignore those signs. If there are constant criticism on what you do, they're undermining your work all of the time. You're being micro managed. All of these things were true for me. So our organizations, these are things we need to highlight. How do you know? How would you know that you are being bullied? And let me say this: if you're going to plead a case, make sure that you're efficient at your work. Don't go plead a case and knowing that the people are right. You're always late. You don't know how to do the job. And you're on the job calling Liberia and yelling and screaming, you're sleeping on the job. And then when they target you, oh, the people are after me, oh, the people don't like me. Well, make sure you are clean. I usually tell my boys when they start working, I usually tell them, if anybody comes after you, make sure you are clean before you go defend yourself. If you know that all of these things that are happening, you are not responsible at your place of work, then all of these things, such as the constant criticism and manipulation and the silent treatment is on a whole nother level of mental abuse at work. No manager should stop speaking to an employee because of something that happened. That's not professional. If it gets to that level, it must be addressed. There is always a higher up. Get somebody involved. This is how my work environment is, and I'm not comfortable. Now, I don't know, maybe it's something I did, but whatever I did, I would like you to come in and mediate between me and my supervisor, because I notice when I speak to my supervisor, she doesn't answer me. Or when I come in and I speak to him, he doesn't answer me. Well, maybe, he's the assistant minister and he told me to follow him to Mama Point Hotel. And I refused to. So now he coming in and he ignoring me when I say, "Oh, Mr. Minister, good morning." He don't answer me. He mad. He's giving me the silent treatment. He's ignoring me. He gave me cold shoulder. When we are in a assembly, he call everybody. He talks to everybody. He does not talk to me. Silent treatment, right? So.
Oh man, that was good. That was good, Dr. Roberts. Basically, I don't know the assistant minister. but let me collect myself again. Let me go into it. But my whole thing with this whole bullying, workplace bullying, right? I mean, basically, again, you can look at it one way or the other. It can either go this way harassment or this way bullying. And we say we have a fine line between the two. One can lead to the other. But I want to just go back to the psychological impact it has on the person, right? I mean, I think you touched on some of them already, but the psychological impact it has on someone, I can sit here and just say, look, by you, just for going by your example, I feel like I'm really on your story today, but I think I'm glad you shared that example. But that example you share, that alone, I can just imagine the mental stress, what it takes. Am I going to go to work today and see this woman? Just the stress and the distraction it brings into your productivity, it limits your productivity because now you're working, but your focus is on, am I going to make mistake? What is she going to correct today? What's going to happen here? So let's talk about that psychological piece that individual actually goes through.
Absolutely. I was mentally, what we say, destabilized to some point. I could not focus on work. I was depressed. I felt targeted. I was triggered again because I felt that it was because of me being African, coming to this country. I didn't assimilate well into the culture. I felt that, I was doing something wrong. And mentally, it really had me into a position where I was stuck. I performed well because I was determined not to give her any reason to come after my work. Because if I did not perform the way I needed to, then she would have had leverage over me. And I didn't want to give her that leverage. So I did my best to keep it together at work. But outside of work, I was a mess. I became so paranoid to the point where months after I resigned the job, I stayed till this, and I would call her name. Her name is Esme. Like, I still felt like, and you see how I brought that out because a part of it is still with me.
I was going to touch that. As you tell the story, though, I can almost feel like you're reliving those moments because your fluctuation in your tune and everything else. Some areas are a little bit higher than other. But that's
what harassment and bullying and intimidation and all that stuff. That's what it does. It eats up a part of you. It's traumatic. It's traumatic to the point where we used to work at the bank and we got paid in checks. There weren't direct deposit then. But I used to go to the bank to cash my check. And downstairs was the bank teller. We worked upstairs processing large amount of accounts for Macy's, JP Morgan, those type of people. And when I would go downstairs to cash my check, Esme will follow me there. She will make sure I stayed online. Now, we all had time to cash our check before we start working. Or if I didn't get there time enough and I had to take a break before the bank closed to get down to cash my check, she will go there, act like she's talking to people. She'll be walking around and make sure that I cash my check and walk back upstairs and she leave. I mean, she made my life a living hell. This woman made my life a living hell. So I wanted to know what was her motivation. And everybody I talked to, they say, oh, she's just jealous because, you know, you're young and the guy like you, he always pull you in his office to talk. I didn't bother nobody. I went to work and that's all I did. But people are determined for whatever reason. I will come home at night, I won't sleep. I had restless nights. I won't even eat during lunchtime. I was so preoccupied with the fact that this woman was targeting me. I would not eat at work. I will stay at work all day long. After work, I will leave, and I was happy to leave, but I dreaded that sense of doom, and I couldn't want to be there. I did not. I couldn't focus on my work when I was there, but then I had to flip it around because my sister-in-law told me, she said, if you don't want her to have anything on you, you need to do your work. So I needed to focus on my work. So that was the way I played, but it was almost like a evil stepmother. That's how I looked at it, right? A evil stepmother because she was in her 50s and I had just turned 18. And I saw this person as an older woman, black woman, that will help nurture me and groom me and grow me. And when I went, I kind of felt like, okay, I'm happy that my supervisor is a black woman from the islands and she was going to be able to help me navigate through this workplace, but it didn't work out like that. So talk about not being able to sleep, not being able to eat, not being able to focus, high level of stress. I felt paranoid. I had severe lack of trust among my co-workers. In that incident, when I even transitioned from that work to another place, all of that went along with me. So when I went to a new place of work, I always scouted among my supervisor for who is as me. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
bothered me
yeah,
for a
yeah.
long time. Every time I went to a new place of work, I would look around to see, is she even here? Would she? It was really, really psychologically harmful for me. I
Yeah.
didn't realize the impact until I left the job, the one I took after that, and probably three jobs after that.
Yeah.
I finally felt secure.
Dr. Roberts, I think that's something you said as you were telling the story that I want to kind of jump right back on. Like you are referring to, I did not want her to have an edge over me, so I just put my head down and did my work,
Mhm.
right? And that is where most of our brothers and sisters, whether they come from Liberia. I have a friend right now in North Carolina who always complaining to me. He would just call me and just say, "My man, my boss is so mean to me. My boss is so mean." You know, I mean, I can't even on my break time when I'm on my phone, he'll be asking me, "Are you on break?" and stuff like that. And I was just telling him, I said, basically, that is exactly where all of this stuff is, because that is that concept of being bullied at work.
Mhm.
And but if we don't know our rights, we don't know exactly that. Look, this is not the way it should be.
Right.
Then we just put our head down and do our work, and then we go home. We just break down, and psychologically, it starts to have impact on us. Now, if this issue is not addressed, in your case, it was addressed because you had to leave. In as much as that job may have been a very high paying job, at some point in time, you decided that your mental health and your own personal
Mhm.
health was a little bit better than going through this drama 365 or 360 days a year. So you move. But now, if it is not addressed, someone else is not addressing it, and they just feel like, man, I just came from Liberia. This is the only job I have.
Mhm.
What long term impact does it have on that individual?
Probably some health conditions. It affects
High
whatever
blood pressure.
affects your mental health, it affects your physical health. And let me say this, I've said this over and over on this platform. Stress, severe stress can mimic hypertension, heart attack. It can mimic so many other illnesses. In fact, it will contribute to illnesses such as cancer, heart issues, diabetes, if it's left unaddressed. So, this is something that is very critical. This is something that we cannot just sit and keep quiet. You have options. What can you do if you think that you have been bullied? Firmly tell the person that their behavior is not acceptable and ask them to stop. You can ask them to, or you can ask and speak to somebody you trust. Maybe if there is a union and you find yourself in a union, you can speak to the union supervisor. You can speak to a trusted manager like I did, who kind of, directed me. He didn't want me to quit, but I was in school. And again, my focus was in school and not a job. I wanted to complete school. So the fact that this added stress I felt was interrupting with my school, I didn't have to be there. I could go back to school and focus on my education. Here is one thing that helped me at another place of work that I was bullied. And this time around, I was more mature and I knew, like I said, the policies and I knew my right. I kept a factual journal of everything that happened. This time I worked at a psychiatric hospital. And while I was there, the director of the unit, I was hired into the nursing department because that's where I work for the state. So I was hired under a pin that was a nursing pin, and they should have switched it over when a psychology pin, became available, but somehow they did not, and so I remained under the nursing pin. And under the nursing pin, they expected me to do certain things, such as bathing the patients, cleaning the patients, those things that I told them was not in my scope of care. So what happened? I contested. They had me working weekends, specifically Saturdays. And I told them that I couldn't work on Saturdays because I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. That is my day of worship, and I will call out. And they continued to target me. She continued to target me to the point where I was not receiving pay for Saturdays because I call out again. So I started to keep record of some of the things that she would do to me. She will insult me in front of the other staff during like staff meetings. She will make all type of derogatory comments towards me. I will write it down. I will date it. I will put the names of the people that were there, and then I will write down the outcome of whatever happened that event. And I started to keep a diary, and I started to keep a diary. Luckily for me, the EEOC was still functioning at that time. So I went ahead and I wrote a report. I contacted the EEOC and I wrote down, I made copies of everything and I wrote it down and I sent it over. So remember, again, these are just character incidences, but naming these behaviors, and for me, what made my case even stronger was she was harassing me. She discriminated against me. And also, when it comes to religious laws, she broke that piece of it. So I didn't stop there. I went as far as the senator of Maryland. I went to the representative. It was Elijah Cummings at the time. I wrote him. I wanted everything I wanted. I wanted her out of there because she came after my paycheck and I lost a day of pay for an entire year. So she would, if there's anything I knew how to do, I know how to fight. And so I went ahead and I wrote some letters and I went as far as writing the senator. And so when my department heard from the EEOC and got a letter from the senator, nobody wants to be getting any bad publicity. So immediately I got called in the office. I got changed from one department to my rightful department. They relieved me from weekends. I never worked another weekend again until it was done. So those are some of the do's. You want to document. You keep a factual. Don't add any lies to it. Don't make the story any more than what it is. And Keep copies of any letters, any emails, memos that you communicated to with them. You want to report bullying and harassment. You want to identify who is the individual that is responsible for it. Identify the policy in your letter. If there is a workplace policy against that, state that in your letter. According to Section 504, it states that bullying and harassment is unacceptable in the workplace. Make sure that you keep a copy of these things, communicate what you should not do. So I gave you a bunch of do's. What are some of your don'ts? Do not retaliate. If that boss is out there cursing you and humiliating you, and you go out there to do the same thing to them,
Well, you just settled the score, I guess.
you just settle the score. Now, if they take it an extra mile, you may end up looking like the predator.
Yeah.
And most of the time, that can cause a lot of confusion for your case, and it won't look right.
All right. So I mean, you just talk about where I really wanted also to end the broadcast. Now that we have 8 minutes to go, you actually went into how to cope with bullying, and you touch on that, documenting, making sure you're keeping track of all of this activity that's taking place. Document those, the mistreatment, call it by name, any harmful behavior that was taking place. You clearly want to make sure you document that, and you document the day of those events and who were present and stuff like that. And if possible, if you are able to get one or two people who will say, you know what, I can sign here as a character witness that did this event did occur. They don't have to put themselves in line, but they can just sign as a character witness that it happened. Yeah, then of course get as much. I guess I'm speaking to those in America. We always say that if it was not documented, it did not happen. So you definitely want to document it, take note as much as possible to support that when you are going through that. But in the context of Liberia, Dr. Roberts, let's go in the context of Liberia, because here you spoke, I think your last section when you spoke, you already spoke to the laws that protect people here. I would give you this example. We still got a few minutes. One of my daughters in Liberia, she's a young lady. She has been working to this particular store. I don't want to say the name of the store before they penalize her because nothing to protect her. She took a maternity leave. She just took a leave to go and have a baby. She was gone. While she was gone, she had sacrificed so much for this. So she would go on her personal page, use some money, and reach out to people, promote the businesses. And while she was gone, they replaced her with another person. When it was time for her to come back to work, they told her, they said, well, you can just come here as a everyday employee, which meant cut in her pay and everything else. She was the manager. They replaced her with someone else. And so I was just like, man, there's no strong labor law in Liberia because that they cannot do to you. And so when you look at all of that, how do you even address those issues in Liberia? Because sometimes you can document it, you can go this way, that way. If not, if they don't want to address it, they don't want to address it. So how do you even cope with bullying in the workplace in Liberia?
So Liberia, definitely we can still document. I think again, documentation anywhere you are. There are some people who, and as far as laws for protecting people in Liberia, we have to follow the policies that are there. And if you were to present your case to your manager or whomever that is in charge, you need to be able to present a solid case. More than likely, if you go with just, I don't know, on this day, what time. So organize your records, make sure that you come in, and whatever laws that are in place, I will assume that in order to cultivate a healthy work environment, we are putting laws in place in Liberia to protect the employees. This is what we want to encourage everybody in the workplace to act in a way that is respectful, professional in the work environment. So Liberia shouldn't be an exception. And to those that I work in management in Liberia, I challenge you to go a step further and really exercise the dues. Have a workplace policy put in place that includes a reporting system. If somebody has been aroused, I want you to educate everybody about bullying and that it's a serious matter. Try to find solutions before the situation gets out of hand. Educate everybody about what is considered bullying and what they can do to stop. We should treat all complaints seriously because the girl who's the administrative assistant went and complained about something, and because she's not the assistant manager or the assistant minister, so we don't care much for what she has to say is wrong. If you feel that it includes you, find a third party. Liberia, we must train the supervisors and managers on how to deal with complaints in a professional manner. Encourage people to address it promptly. If somebody comes to you with a complaint, don't just take it and put it on your desk. Give it some thought, give it some consideration, promptly address the problem. Remember that in order for bullying to stop in the workplace, we have to educate one another about it. I came from Liberia, I didn't know what it sounded like, but if somebody is spreading malicious rumors or gossip, isolating other people, intimidating people at work, undermining, deliberately excluding people, removing them from responsibilities that they should be doing, constantly changing the work guidelines, establishing impossible deadlines that that they cannot keep, right? Making jokes about them, obviously, that are offensive. You even do that in email chains. There are people that will do that, make little comments in the email chain, or
Yeah.
intruding on a person's privacy, like she was doing in the bathroom, following me, right? All of these things are example of workplace bullying.
And,
So
and so, Dr. Roberts, we've got 2 minutes here to wrap it up. But I want to go real quick. In our everyday lingo, when I see Dr. Roberts coming to work and I say, "Oh, Queen Jezebel coming to work again," that's still a form of bullying,
it
right?
is.
It's still a form of bullying,
It's
demeaning people,
negative.
calling them names, and you giving
Mhm.
them names that they don't ascribe to, and all of those things. Anything that you can do to put that person down, that
Oh,
is
that there
honestly,
goes, there goes Cheche Boleo. She
yeah,
coming again.
yeah,
Then when I say don't do that, hey man, I just joking your umpa. You
yeah,
can't take hard joke. No,
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
hard
yeah,
joke.
yeah.
You
That one
know,
day, your higher male because you work in the office, all the people male will be.
yes, that
So
one
all
is
of those things that would demean someone, definitely you have to
any
consider.
of that. I had somebody repeatedly tell me, "Oh, your umpa, you too." What they said to me, your umpa, you are too critical. You are too super professional. You can't relax. And I'm like, it's not. Am I not supposed to be professional like in an organization type place? That's a time to play. That's a time to play around, right? When
So
it's time to play, I can get silly. But don't constantly say that among other people because the message that you are sending is that, oh, she's not flexible,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So that's how they see me and they box me up in that kind of oh, she's not somebody who can, we can joke with, or she's not somebody who, and no, when
yeah.
I
She's
can
not
get
sociable. She's just very
exactly,
rigid.
she's
Yeah,
not sociable, and
yeah, yeah,
and so she don't know how to let down. And no, that's not true.
yeah.
There's a time and a place for everything. So we say those things in the workplace, and we think that it's just I'm joking when somebody address you with it. It's actually, in fact, bullying.
All right, so Dr. Roberts, let's wrap the show up. And everybody in Liberia, you've already heard Dr. Robert did not say you need to pick up your cell phone and recall your boss. Don't recall your boss. But if that's the way you want to document it, it's up to you. But basically, Dr. Roberts, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. Let's wrap up the show. Just go ahead and give your final thoughts, and we will be ending it for today.
Yes, thank you for having me. And as always, it's a pleasure being back on our regular schedule. I want to encourage anyone who may be experiencing workplace bullying. One thing I want you to understand about your place of work is that they are to provide a safe environment, a safe culture that is effective and efficient for work. If you find that you are at a workplace where you are being constantly criticized, you are being demeaned for something that you are doing, if people are targeting you in front of a particular person or group of people, and it is at a point where it has psychologically affected you as well as physically affected you, it is time to speak to somebody. Seek help. You do not have to suffer in silence or be afraid. Most bullies love people that are intimidated and are afraid. So speak up. If you are in the United States, there are laws that are there to protect you. Know your rights, know your policy, and stand up for yourself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roberts. Again, I want to say thank you to our friend Simon Rovia at Freedom FM 87.9. Thank you so much for taking the program live. And to my good friend, River Says Pro, our biggest contributor today. I do apologize. I didn't get to any of your comments, but definitely, brother, I will bring you back here someday. We'll discuss some of these issues. You've always been there for us. We appreciate you. Stay safe, everybody. God's willing. We will see you next week. Thank you, and God bless.